여러분 안녕하십니까?
Hello everyone.
오늘도 공동사회를 맡게 된 김소정입니다.
It's me again for today, Jason Greenberger.
어젯밤에도 편안히 주무셨습니까?
Did everyone sleep well yesterday?
오늘은 우리 여주 에코포럼 행사의 마지막 날입니다. 아쉽기도 하지만 사뭇 긴장되는 순간입니다.
Today is the last day of the Yeoju Eco Forum, and as such there is a bit of stress at hand.
왜냐하면 이번 행사를 마무리하면서 앞으로 우리 종교 지도자들이 앞으로 나아가야 할 길, 특히 생태 문명을 어떻게 건설해야 할지 다 같이 고민해봐야 하는 첫 번째 세션 9번의 주제인 생태 문명에 대한 이상적 모델 구상에 대해 리차드 로즈 좌장께서 발표해 주시겠습니다.
First, we would like to invite to the stage the chair, Richard Rose, from the session Collectively Imagining Model Ecological Civilization.
큰 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
Let's give him a round of applause.
It was truly my honor to chair Session 9, Collectively Imagining a Model Ecological Civilization. Our session was true to its name and gave insight into several aspects of a model ecological civilization. The session began with an insightful critique of the arrogance of humanism. Nai Yan Tin began the session by using the concept of community as found in Martin Heidegger, Jürgen Moltmann, Lao Tzu, and others to illustrate the necessity of building up love to address the ecological risk and conflict of civilizations that is inevitable unless love is at the center of all our relationships within the cosmic order. She emphasized the idea that we must recognize the intrinsic value of humans and non-humans alike and remove the anthropocentrism that seems to give us permission to destroy our home and treat those non-human life forms as if they have no meaningful value. She stated there is an intrinsic relationship between the human collective spirit and nature. So becoming a community of love will be the ultimate concern of a contemporary thinker. It was argued that the 21st century will represent an important move from ego toward the care of the other, from the subjective toward the intersubjective communication. It is also an important reconstruction moment of ecological theology because the human and non-human creatures are equal. The second presentation was a session entitled Howard Thurman's Search for Common Ground by Richard Rose. It followed very closely the same theme. The presentation on Howard Thurman argued that Howard Thurman's life and thought advanced the claim that authentic religious experience serves to nurture the human spirit and build community. The theoretical basis for this notion is seen in the idea that the mind of God realizes itself in time, and that there are observable patterns of sequences in all creation. From this point of view, all time-space manifestations of substance, in short, all things, even existence itself, are regarded as the mind of God coming to itself in time and space. It was argued that religious or mystical experience can provide the practitioner direct insight into the interconnected nature of life and all of existence. Thurman's position is that the experience itself supersedes and ultimately transcends the language used to communicate the experience to others. Thurman warns us not to allow the doctrine derived from the experience to be something that causes us to separate ourselves from one another. Referring to the particular creeds and doctrine we find in the various traditions, Thurman writes, they represent what the mind does when it seeks to rationalize the profound experiences of the spirit. For Thurman, interfaith dialogue and sharing becomes a way of moving beyond the limitations of language to identify what he calls the ground of being, which is common to all existence. It is this common ground of being that requires us to care for the environment that has given us the conditions out of which we are able to live. Thurman writes, since we are not only living in the universe is living in us, it follows then that man is an organic part of the universe. In his organism, he experiences the order and harmony of the universe. It is this common ground that establishes the relational imperative to seek an ecological civilization. The third presentation in our session provided a practical illustration of the theoretical principles that had been outlined in presentations 1 and 2. Song Sung is the founder of Myra House, Holistic Living Center. His presentation was titled Re-envisioning a Holistic Educational Model, 4 Stages of Healthy Biotic Community Life Cycles. By drawing upon the natural cycles of life, Song Sung has established a living community that seeks to live harmoniously and holistically within a contemporary modern society. His home family community center is a model for a healthy biotic community. Song defined a biotic community as a system interconnected living and non-living participants in a local setting representing a particular structure and possessing certain characteristics. Song discussed the ways in which he used Whitehead's notion of how an organism develops to organize aspects of the human development for the residents of the house. The stages of development consist of a germinating stage, a differentiation stage, an accommodating stage, and a cross-pollinating stage. In addition, the Myra House implemented the Sisterin ideal of creating contemplative space, adding guidelines for living, aiming each resident toward holistic living, integrating spiritual practices in commune, and adopting sustainable practices. Song then went on to describe the way in which a physical property was chosen and remodeled for a community of 12 individuals. Song demonstrated that a person's wholeness can be recovered by unlocking the repressed unconsciousness, which is facilitated by positive interactions with other people and the natural environment. While Myra's House has had its challenges since its inception in 1999, Song concluded by saying, walk humbly, trusting that planet Earth has sustained her life for billions of years without fail. It is our responsibility to choose to live life creatively and harmoniously in order to contribute our part to the whole beauty and wonder of planet Earth. The fourth presenter in our session was Farhan Shah. His presentation was titled Bridge Building as a Way Toward Ecological Civilization. The focus of the presentation was our unique capacity to be empathetic in terms of our identification of the other. Shah discussed cognitive and emotional empathy. Cognitive empathy is the conscious drive to recognize and understand another's emotional state. And emotional empathy is our automatic drive to respond appropriately to another's emotions. We were encouraged to affirm biophilia, which is the recognition that all things have value for their own sake. From this recognition, we can move into an I-thou relationship with all aspects of the created order. The presentation concluded with 5 mental shifts toward an ecological civilization. Those shifts were from shallow empiricism to deep empiricism, from hyper-individualism to personalism, from reductive anthropomorphism to biophilia, from protective loyalties to world loyalty, and from selective compassion to radical mentalizing. The final presenter in our session was Quan Thomas. Quan Thomas is the founder of U3 Age of Singapore. U3A, or U3 Age, stands for the University of the Third Age. It is a community of senior citizens coming together to share their experience, skill, and wisdom. In short, Kwan's admonition to all of us was to keep living and stay interested in life. The presentation began with a brief Qigong exercise to energize our bodies. It was pointed out that regardless of age, when we are healthy, there is much that each of us can contribute to our communities. Kwan then noted that often when we are young, people ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't know of anyone, he said, who's asked or has been asked, how do you want to do as you grow old? Kwan then shared ways that each of us can contribute to an ecological civilization by becoming a responsible senior citizen. He noted 6 points. Volunteer to manage climate change by participating in activities to preserve planet Earth. 2, to help create an ecological civilization by reducing waste, planting more trees, reduce our carbon footprint, etc. The third point, he said, share wisdom and aspirations for a clean and refreshing environment. Mentor younger generations to respect nature was the fourth. The fifth was teach children to be humble instead of being clever and rich. And then sixth, have a healthy life. Qigong exercise, spiritual discussions, etc. Kwan finally stated, third agers are a social force that can play an important contributory role in balancing relationships between ecological improvements and monetary gains. Thank you.
감사합니다.
Thank you.
다음은 세션 10번의 주제인 환경 문제 해결을 위한 종교 지도자 역할에 대해 제이 맥다니엘 좌장께서 발표해 주시겠습니다.
Next, we would like to welcome Session Chair Jay McDaniel to the stage. He was in charge of the session titled The Qualities of an Ideal Interfaith Leader.
큰 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
Let's give him a big round of applause.
Presenters in our session, and I think that each of the presenters exemplified the qualities of an interfaith leader. I'm going to name them: John Becker, Andrew Schwartz, Wei Sai, Abu Taher, Srivastava Goswami, and you need to imagine a round table around which those 5 people sit. And they each shared insights and gems of wisdom from their respective traditions or things they knew about. And it's like they put them in the middle of the table. And the insights that they were sharing became food for everyone to partake of. So even though the insights came from a certain place, the insights became possibilities, lures for feeling, to which people could respond. Now, 4 traditions were represented: Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, and a local church. Jainism, and a local church. So we learned something from each of those. From Jainism in particular, the idea of ahimsa, or nonviolence, was lifted up and put in the middle of the table. And we all resonated with that, and we all knew that nonviolence extends to all living beings. But nonviolence, of course, begins in the heart, with a nonviolent mind, with nonviolent attitudes. That was moving, we appreciated so much, and then the conversation turned to Christianity. We actually had 2 Christian traditions represented. One was the Protestant tradition, and one was Catholicism. In Protestant Christianity, there's a sub-tradition called Methodism, United Methodism. And one thing that Methodism emphasizes is that spirituality is social holiness. So spirituality is not simply finding some kind of inner peace, as important as that can be. Spirituality is reaching out into the world in concrete, practical, life-giving ways. So you can put social holiness in the middle of the table. From Catholicism, we turned, as you might guess, to Pope Francis in his book Laudato Si. And Pope Francis's insight that today we hear 2 cries: the cries of the earth and the cries of the human poor. And you can't separate those cries. And we need to learn to act in ways that respond to those two cries simultaneously. Pope Francis's name for that is integral ecology. That was placed at the center of the table. From Buddhism, we learned, as you might guess, about the idea of radical interconnectedness. Nothing exists all by itself. Everything exists, indeed, is present in everything else. And we also learned that wonderful idea that all things have, indeed, all things are the Buddha nature. That is, all things contain within them something alive and something worthy of respect, something worthy of care. So we were grateful to Buddhism for giving us that to put in the center of the table. From Hinduism, we had the wonderful image of Lord Krishna descending to this earth and descending indeed to play, to enjoy, to dance. And then we had the story of Lord Krishna arriving on the earth and finding that there was so much pollution, so much exploitation. There was no place to play. There was no place to dance. And from that story we gained the idea that to make space for joy, to make space for play, that's one of the objectives of social action. That's something that can happen in ecological civilizations. So all of those ideas were placed at the center of the table, and we looked for a practical example. And we got one from Taiwan. We had the example of a local Baptist church that was doing absolutely wonderful things for people of all ages, ecology to be sure, but also recreation, in particular rock climbing and bicycling. And we realized that we had forgotten the physical side of life. We had forgotten the recreational side of life. We had forgotten the bodily side of life. And we found ourselves grateful to that church for reminding us of that and showing that unless ideas become concrete in local institutional settings, they don't count for all that much. So there was our interfaith. I wouldn't call it a debate. There were no debates about truth or falsehood. You call it an interfaith exploration, where things get placed on the table and you get to feed on them and think about them and reflect upon them. Then at the end, a hard question emerged. If the religions have all these good ideas, well, why isn't the world a better place? If they've got all these gems of wisdom, what happened? And I would like to pretend that we had an immediate answer to that, but we really didn't. We thought to ourselves, good question. What happened? But one idea that did emerge, and I'll leave you with this, I think it touched us all, was that religions must be in service to life, not the other way around. If those ideas, if those insights, if those practices don't lead to the flourishing of life, then something's wrong. Life transcends religion. But religion can help us approach life. That's what we learn in the exploration.
감사합니다.
Thank you.
다음은 세션 11번의 주제인 개별 종교인의 잠재적 역할에 대해 매트 맥더모트 좌장께서 발표해 주시겠습니다.
Next, we would like to welcome to the stage session chair Matt McDermott, who was the chair for the session, the potential role of independent spiritualists.
큰 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
Big round of applause, please.
When I chose to submit my own presentation to this conference, I chose to do so in the category of the potential role of independent spiritualists. I did so because of my belief that whatever tradition we belong, we are all ultimately independent spiritualists. While we all adhere to some metaphysical tradition that guides our actions, it's up to each one of us as individuals to put those beliefs into practice in our lives. Combined individuals' beliefs into practice, combine individuals' core beliefs into practice at the family level, in our communities, in our nations, in our geographical regions, and ultimately, increasingly globally. To create ecologically sustainable societies, we do need laws and policies that are in line with the goal. Our political and economic systems need to evolve to align with ecological principles and work with the wisdom of nature. But we also need as individuals to evolve our habits and lives to the best degree we all can, and each in our own way, so that we as individuals are also doing our part in bringing about the creation of ecological civilization. What we saw in our session were multiple facets of how this individual application and interpretation of religious teachings, some age-old, some more recent, can be powerful motivators for regenerative ecological change, as well as how each one of us is a part of something greater and each has a role to play. Through the lens of Islam, we learned that, quote, each and every part of the natural world is not alien or foreign to humans. Rather, these parts are deeply related to one another. Humans should not violate this insightful and deeper relationship with the natural world only for our own comforts, economic development, and military power. If humans do harm to the natural environment, it causes facade, apologies if I pronounce that wrong, disturbing the balance and order of nature, which eventually results in catastrophe in the natural world. The view from an Orthodox Christian perspective is phrased differently, but echoes the sentiments of individuals being in deep relationship with the divine. Quote, all of creation is iconic because all of creation points beyond itself to a depth to the God who brought all things into being. Since every human being is created in the image of God, every human being is a living icon, a perceivable presence that reveals the divine. For the Orthodox, non-human creation is also iconic. That was certainly true for Moses when he stood reverently before the burning bush and encountered the living God, but it is also true in our relationship with the natural world more broadly. In the words of the 14th century Saint Gregory Palamas, again for my pronunciation maybe on, quote, the whole world is a burning bush of God's energies. I was particularly struck by these sections of the presentations, the Muslim perspective presented by Abu Sayyam and an Orthodox Christian one by Perry Hamalas, but because though each came from faith traditions that espouse a different relationship between humanity and God than my own Hindu tradition, when it comes to understandings of humanity's relationship with nature, we, broadly speaking, have much in common. Presenting to all of you what I did in the session yesterday, humans exist in a natural order of mutual service with the rest of existence. This leads us to consider that all of us making up this natural order are all related, all interconnected as part of this natural system. This thought is a powerful motivating force in new approaches to conservation and regeneration of the world. We humans are not separate from nature. We cannot cause permanent harm to nature without, to some degree, also harming ourselves. Thus, it is important to become actively aware of the implications of our actions, how they affect the balance of the world around us. But it's important to note that we, collectively speaking, are indeed tipping the balance. Humanity is living out of balance with nature. Kevin Clark framed this as grievances or grudges between human beings and nature. Including the air we've created a grudge that can be resolved through stopping the pollution we're creating by changing our industrial processes. The same factor that may be polluting the air may be dumping chemicals into a nearby river. We can resolve this grievance with the natural world by stopping that dumping or changing the way in which the factory runs so that waste isn't produced in the first place. Resolving these grudges can be accomplished through a combination of self-reflection and self-criticism, with learning to deeply appreciate nature. It's this last part, increasing our appreciation for nature, which also really hit the mark for me. I firmly believe that if we learn to deeply love and embody gratitude for the natural world, each of us in our own way, that many of our current ecological challenges which many speakers over the past 2 days have reminded us are truly threatening the future of our current civilization. These challenges become far easier to solve. This is not to say that they become technologically easier to solve, but that they very well may become politically and culturally easier to solve. For if each of us individually cultivates this sort of devotion towards the natural world upon which we are entirely dependent, we become more thoughtful in our lifestyles and our consumer choices, more considerate in how these things may be damaging our shared home. It's this sort of shift in perspective that's required, the foundation upon which we build a truly ecologically sustainable society. Regenerate the natural world around us is to be solid and stable. Thank you.
감사합니다.
Thank you.
다음은 세션 12번의 주제인 환경 위기에 대해 자아성찰과 상호 토론에 대해 산드라 루바스키 좌장께서 발표해 주시겠습니다.
Next, we would like to welcome to the stage the session chair, Sandra Lubarsky, who chaired the session Self-Criticism and Friendly Debates. Big round of applause, please.
큰 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
Good morning. My session was called Self-Criticism and Friendly Debate. Our debate was not robust, actually. It was more a session of friendship. We had a wide range of presentations, beginning with Professor Li Dahua, who spoke about the Chinese concept of God. Professor Dahua presented the really fascinating thesis that the concept of God can be found in ancient Chinese thought, referring to a supreme being who gave legitimacy to the regime and granted rewards and punishments. And although Christianity was introduced to China in the Tang Dynasty, and then again in the Ming Dynasty with Matteo Ricci, the idea of God, he told us, was already deeply imprinted in Chinese culture. Marcus Ford argued that the current form of higher education is destructive of the world. He very forcefully proposed that universities are missionaries for the religion of secular economism, and that they are succeeding wildly at converting young people to their congregation. To transition to an ecological civilization, we need new kinds of colleges and universities, ones that promote self-understanding and wisdom. Humankind needs more humanity, says Cyrus Brooks in his presentation called United We Stand, Divided We Fall. He stressed the need for people of all faiths to work together in ways that improve the world, and he gave us really wonderful examples from the Church of Scientology. He found reason for optimism in the fact that in times of emergency, people come together to be of help to those in need. That immediate impulse to help can be the source of our response to environmental crisis as well. And I am Sandra Lubarsky. I reflected on the relation between interreligious dialogue and pro-social behavior. I asked, why is it that religion isn't the difference that makes a difference in the pro-social behavior of people? And then I examined the way that our understanding of other religions can undercut our efforts, our motivation and efforts to protect those who believe differently. I propose that deep religious pluralism, and that is from John Cobb's notion of deep religious pluralism, can help us to establish relationships of solidarity with people of different traditions, and these are the kinds of relationships that we need in order to establish eco-civilizations. Thanks very much.
감사합니다. 다음은 세션 13번의 주제인 위기의 지구와 여러 생명체에 대한 관심에 대해 나리만 가시모 근로좌장께서 발표해 주시겠습니다.
We would now like to welcome to the stage session chair, Nariman Kasimoglu, who chaired the session Hearing the Voice of the Earth and Other Creatures. Big round of applause.
박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
Our session by presenters, and we'll discuss some ideas and ideals for ecological civilization from different perspectives and the domain of the eco-theologies, political philosophical speculations along with field research findings to meet the ecological concerns. The first presentation, The Rise of Eurasia, Long-Term Sustainable Geopolitics by Mr. Norbert Chismedian, a geographer and expert in economic strategy, geostrategy, regional and urban development, and geopolitics, addressed the current geopolitical and political realities in the Eurasian plate. Having analyzed changing economic indicators, natural resources, rising economic gravity routes, along with GDP versus PPP estimates peculiar to different regions of this largest contiguous area on Earth. The presenter characterized Eurasia as much promising and having a great potential for prosperity. In his opinion, this all is inevitably woven into the process of the civilizational rise of the continent, with a bright future to offer much for its ecological transformation. He also emphasized the importance of the revival of an ancient national world view, which had ever dominated in the land between the Carpathian Basin and the Pacific Ocean, and in which the highest value was universal life, which was family-centered, community-based, and close to nature. The second presentation was mine, water as a component of spiritual cosmogony from perspectives of the Bible and the Quran. And I concentrated on commonalities in both how scriptures from perspectives of how monotheistic traditions have a great potential tackling the ecological problems with regard to water. My theological arguments viewing water as pre-existent substance revolved around the literal reading of the related passages from both scriptures, and this view as such was offered to mean one of the most important components of religiously motivated approach towards the environmental concerns. I also called the attention to the teaching content of those passages for our contemporary physical world and raised questions. Don't we gradually turn our world into one running risk of being overflowed with water and perishing? Should we humans with free will stand on the sidelines and let the situation get even worse and lead to that end? I address these questions both to those who don't believe in climate change and those who endeavor to build ecological civilization. The other speaker was a distinguished church leader, Reverend Bonnie Tallwater, the minister and founder of Church for Our Common Home. She talked about her play Mother's Milk and Moon Cookies, about a woman visited in a dream by 12 goddesses from the world religions flying to the moon with Saturday and experiencing their oneness with all of the creation, which offered an artistic approach to experience interfaith spiritual dialogue. The involvement of women from different religions in the play with their personal experiences makes the product even more than artistic product, turns it into a unique spiritual practice for interfaith people for the sake of the Divine Mother Earth. The following presentation by Young-Woon Kim, professor of the Department of Energy and Environment, Daejeon University, took the audience from dream sharing spiritual practice to harsh environmental realities. The diagrams he showed were in much details illustrative of how wetlands and the Yellow Sea area are challenged by development activities, climate change, sea level rise, which threaten wetland habitat both in South and North Korea. The last speaker was Abraham Chu Yang-Kuo, the author of many publications on ecological philosophy. His presentation covered an outward cultivation to achieve ecological civilization, called for fixing people's mentality, meant to handle tasks for environmental concerns through educational process of covert and outward cultivation of self based on the teachings of Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism. Thank you.
세션 14번 주제인 생태 문명 건설을 위한 전략에 대해 임컨친 좌장님께서 발표해 주시겠습니다.
Next, we would like to welcome to the stage Session Chair Lin Pei-Tian, who chaired the session Strategies for Working Together to Create an Ecological Civilization. Let's have a round of applause for him.
큰 박수로 맞이해주시기 바랍니다.
Good morning. The session 14 has four far-sighted speakers with various academic background who focus on the strategies of working together to create an eco-civilization. These speakers are from US, Hungary, Egypt, and the Philippines. And after the meaningful remarks, participants of our session raised the professional questions, gave their statements, comments, and discussed with the speakers on their interesting topics. I'll try to summarize the points as follows. We believe that it's very necessary to work together to build an eco-civilization with different essential systematic strategies between societies and within societies. It encompasses the cultural and spiritual diversity, reflecting the interconnected and interdependent nature of one planet. Multiple ecosystems could serve as a popular and successful platform for parties, sections, and groups to work together in unity toward the eco-civilization. Besides, we need a scientific outlook that's more profound than the superficial materialistic modern science dominating and alienating billions of people on our planet. We need to receive another phase of science, which should include emotional, intellectual life, for ecological values, on the basis of which it's possible to transform the inner frame of our global social and economic organizations. We put forward a conception of comprehensive science. The comprehensive science is the science of life, communities of life, and nature, offering an exact ground for ecology, which includes the theory of the most crucial connections between man and the universe. So, an organic combination of natural sciences and human sciences can be expected in the future. As we know, there's a fact that 70% of the world population will live in cities by 2030, which indicates urbanization produces almost 75% of global greenhouse gas emissions. So it's important to identify and implement green and clean approaches to sustainable development. Rapid urbanization challenges efficient urban planning and effective management of resources. Thus, we have to face and secure environmental challenges, pollution with cities, and provide adequate basic service for people living in cities. We have to reconstruct sustainable communities and cities under the purpose of human beings' existence and restore the balance to the environment. As we know, human beings have suffered natural and man-made disasters for thousands of years, including earthquake, volcanic eruption, typhoon, flood, and storm, and so forth. So, how can we find a way to save survivors of disasters, to cure their injuries, to help them go back to normal daily life? Of course, there are different answers. We can rely on Western medicine and modern sciences, but maybe we can find another path to solve these problems. That's studying and restoring the wisdom and technique of ancient China. That's a holistic and community-based approach to alternative healthcare system. For example, making full use of acupuncture and qigong to arouse and promote the body energy. In these endeavors, we carry forward respect for humans' race, respect for all the other creations, efforts for sustainable health care, all for building a just, human community of life. At the end of the summary, I believe these reactions between scholars can inspire us to detect a path of emergence of interdiscipline and transdiscipline to build up various standpoints and constructing a system of eco-civilization. So I suggest a regular institution, a platform that exchanges ideas and illustrations on eco-civilization. For example, we need to publish a periodical, a magazine, a journal that sets out worldwide ecosystems. So I think IPDC will play an important role in these processes and imaginations. So that's all. Thank you.
지금까지 여주 에코포럼 6개의 주제를 발표해 주신 6분의 저자분들께 큰 감사의 말씀을 올립니다.
I'd like to offer thanks again to the 6 session chairs who presented just now. Let's hear it for them.